I'm so curious your thoughts on these players who are not going to work out, like Marvin
Mhm,
Harrison, Caleb Williams. Do
mhm.
you believe this is a problem?
It's it's not a it's not a problem at the end of the day in terms of assessing whether or not or feeling as though you don't have enough information as it relates to their athletic ability to then properly project them to the NFL. It's not a problem in that regard. It's a it's a problem for me personally simply because when you're talking about the top, the top players in the country, and those are the ones who usually opt out, right? Top five players, top six players. It's a problem for me because there's nothing for you to lose. I understand in many respects that these players feel like, well, there's nothing for me to gain either. As a matter of fact, especially if, like in the case of Marvin Harrison, right? I think he cited the fact that he didn't want to train specifically for the combine. He wanted to continue to train for football and get himself ready for what eventually is going to be his first rookie mini camp and OTAs and that. And I get that point. I think there's a balance, though. I think there's a happy medium here where you're continuing to show what football scouts like to call competitive character, meaning you want to compete on a level playing field. I don't care if it's a game of checkers or if it's a 40 or if it's a short shuttle time or if it's running a slant route. You want to compete with the rest of the guys because you know that, look, I've already pretty much built 98% of my resume as it relates to on the field. And I know that people know what I am. You just would like to see them feel as though the risk does not so far outweigh the reward that you just shun the whole thing and you just go, I'm out of here. I'm leaving. Because I think at its core, and I think at players in players' hearts, they would compete. What happens is agents, advisors, family members start getting in these kids' ears and going, you don't need to do that. You don't need to do that. You don't need to do that. You don't need to participate in that. And it's kind of like indicative of like everything else that's going on in our world. People want more, 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 but want to be responsible and held accountable for less, 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 and less. That's just the way things are trending. And is it going to ruin the draft? Is it going to ruin Caleb's stock? Is it going to drop? No. But do you see where I'm going with it? Like, I would much rather, when CJ Stroud, let's just put it, when CJ Stroud threw at the combine last year, he was already quarterback one for me over Bryce anyway. But when he did that, I was like, see, when Anthony Richardson was throwing, I was like, see, those are the dudes I love. You're not scared of anything. And you understand that the chances for you doing something that's really going to hurt yourself from a physical perspective and knock down your draft stock are probably very, very minimal. I know why this kind of thing happens. Kids are taught to continue to kind of like, rail against doing more, but then always wanting more. And that fundamentally bothers me. As you can see, like I really have some big hangups about this. I talk to my own kids about this all the time. I talk to my son in particular, who's a, up and coming basketball player, about just the value of work and showing people what kind of competitive character you have, regardless of how good you have. I mean, how good of an athlete you are or how high your stock is. You always want to show people, this is my thing, and I'm the alpha, and I'm going to show you every chance I get.
Check out new episodes of What the Football with Suzy Shuster and Amy Trask every Tuesday. Watch us on the Rich Eisen Show YouTube page or follow and listen wherever you get your podcasts.